I'm going to call to order the Amberley Village Council meeting of February 13th. Please call the roll.
Ben Hunt.
Here.
Tom Muthing.
Here.
Keely Paul. Here. Bob Rosen.
Here.
Dara Wood.
Here.
Chief Wallace.
Here.
Rick Kay.
Here. If everyone could please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, for coming, and it's nice to have a crowd. We have to have recognition awards or something to have a big crowd, but it's nice to have people here. First item on the agenda is our minutes from our last meeting. Those were circulated in advance. Are there any corrections to those minutes? Seeing none, we can consider the minutes approved. Next item is the finance report for December, and in the village manager's absence as chair of the finance committee, I will present the finance report. Earnings tax collections for the month of December totaled $161,000. The total for the year is $3,541,000, and that compares to our budget of $3,004,000. So we had a good year for earnings tax collections. We did not receive any property tax in December, and expenditures in the month of December are always high, but the unencumbered general fund balance at the end of December was $6,135,000. Now, just some comments for the entire year. The revenue for the entire year was $6.4 million, which exceeded the $5.9 million estimate for the general fund revenue for the year. The excess of $500,000 is all due to reimbursements that we received for expenses. And we had ups and downs on others, but we got, for instance, reimbursements from Greater Cincinnati Waterworks for the water line replacement on North and South Farmcrest. We continue to get reimbursements for Lieutenant Tom Fallon, who serves on the Heroin Task Force. Overall revenues we had a good year, but nothing like that $500,000 increase. On the expense side, similar, we exceeded budget for the same reason, and a lot of it was due to the North and South Farmcrest project. We had to transfer a lot of funds into the stormwater fund as well as the streets fund. And we knew when we started the accelerated streets program approximately 3 years ago, we knew the year that we did the North and South Farmcrest project was going to be a difficult year from an expenditure standpoint, but it actually ended up probably as good as we could possibly ever have expected. We ended the year with a deficit of $143,000, but when we looked at this 3 years ago, we were talking in the year that we did the North and South Farmcrest that we could have deficit of $400,000 or $500,000. So overall, a very, very good year, and especially once we get that North and South Farmcrest project behind us, which it's going to take, the project did spill over into 2023, but come the end of the summer of 2023, when that project's done, we'll be relieved, but I think even more so, the residents of North and South Farmcrest will be relieved, because they withstood a poor condition of streets for quite a few years, and now they're withstanding project or construction for approximately 18 months. So we appreciate their patience, but as I said, the year 2022 we're happy with. Are there any questions on the finance report? Okay, next we have two citizens to speak. First, Terry Hogan, who's a resident of the village and has agreed to serve as the local school decision-making committee member for Amberley Village. Terry, when you come forward, just state your name and address and then...
Oh, okay. So my name is Terry Hogan. My address is 9070 Ridgeway Close, 45236. So I'd like to thank Mayor Muthing and council members for the opportunity to speak because I am the rep for Amberley Village for the LSDMC. That means Local School Decision Making Committee. It took me a while to learn that, alphabet soup. So I really enjoy working with Amber Simpson and her staff. She is the principal of Pleasant Ridge Montessori. She is so smart and she's just so pleasant, and it's just a real joy to be there and have met her and her people. They're doing a great job. And so the major focus of this LSDMC right now is the boundaries for Pleasant Ridge Montessori. So Pleasant Ridge Montessori is building an expansion project with the construction soon to begin in spring of 2023. The bidding just finalized in December, so this is going to take some time. They hope that it will be completed by 2024. So, but all the people who I think right now they're making the decisions on who the bids are going to go to. Then those people will get together and then you'll start seeing things happen. And I'm sure there'll be things on the website that you'll be able to peruse. So right now there's 700, to begin with the story here, there's 738 people currently enrolled in Pleasant Ridge Montessori. The current building is good for 550. So you can see why they're in a little bit of a dilemma here and why the focus on the boundaries is becoming very important to them. So Purcell, I keep wanting to call this school Purcell. Pleasant Ridge Montessori is a Montessori-based education that not every family wants. We want to acknowledge parents moving into our school boundaries who may desire to continue the same path of a study from their previous school. So that they want to have that choice of the school settings that they were used to. So, or a more traditional school environment. When a new family moves into our boundaries and they enter the address on the CPS website, the only enrollment option is the Pleasant Ridge Montessori. So there are 3 neighboring schools that have K-6 within 1 to 3 miles of Pleasant Ridge Montessori boundaries. The parents may prefer to choose. The LSDMC would like to request a modification to the enrollment process that would include options to enroll in Woodford Academy, John P. Parker School, or Silverton Elementary. All of these schools are under-enrolled. Woodford has 328 students out, and they have the room for 550. Thomas P. Parker has 345, and they have room for 550. Silverton has 339, and they have room for 400. Pleasant Ridge Montessori was built for 550, and they have 738. So we ask that these schools become visible in the enrollment process for families to choose from. And I included a letter with your packet there that we have presented to the Cincinnati Public Schools. So right now, they haven't actually thought of it as a priority. And 2 of our members, Sharon and Tammy, go to the HAVOC meetings, or HAVOC, or whatever they're called, and that CPS presents. And they're not getting a lot of positive feedback, but we're not giving up on that. And we keep following up on the letters to them because we feel that it's a pretty valid statement when you see the other schools, especially when some families may not want a Montessori school. So that's basically, you know, there are many projects and activities that Pleasant Ridge Montessori does, and I have loved being part of learning what they do have to offer the community. One of the things, so that's the story on the boundaries, but I wanted to bring up some of the other things that I'm impressed with, and it won't be long, I promise. But I really, in looking at all the things, and they have many things that are very positive, I really love their blessing bags. To me, that, you know, I love any kind of program or activity or project that has to do with helping others. And this blessing bags, Meyer is sponsoring it so that they can provide food, and they provide families with weekend meals. And you know, with the way inflation is and everything, that's really kind of nice. And they don't pick out certain people; they just donate it to all of the families. So I think that's pretty cool, and maybe it's something our community can think about doing, and then dropping them off food now and then that can go into the blessing bags. And they actually have given 2,324 of these bags. And I think that's really impressive. And you know, the more I sit there at the meetings and the more I hear about what they do, like the coat drives, and you know, it's pretty impressive school. So they have, you know, I'm just really happy that, you know, I'm part of it. And Woodward is providing the I Can program where they pick up and package the blessing bags, and they have so many volunteers. It's just so impressive. And as you will see, as you peruse the material, that PRM is a very active school in our community, and they are doing wonderful things. So I thank you again for the honor of representing Amberley in this wonderful program.
Are there any questions?
Any questions?
Terry, one question. With respect to the boundaries, that's an action that the school board has to take as far as changing the boundaries?
Well, yes, they have to be the ones to change the boundaries.
So,
See, right now, when a family comes into the Cincinnati Public School program in this area, they go on their web page and they get it like a generic, you know, application. And immediately it goes to Pleasant Ridge Montessori. And, you know, that's where they go. That's why they have 738, you know, students, and they really only have room for 550. So they were basically forced to create an expansion at that school. And that's why CPS is okay with helping fund it. And I don't know what the funds are at this point myself, but, you know, I think what they're also saying is, like, every family may not want a Montessori program.
right.
You know, Montessori is wonderful, but it's not for everybody. And so if they're given 4 schools to choose from that have totally different ways of teaching or whatever, it's a big world, we're all different, and, you know, they should have the choice to choose an education that's more to the kids and the programs that they are looking for in a school.
Right.
So I find it pretty interesting that it's been like this forever and it doesn't seem to change. I mean, has this come up before? The boundaries and...
The boundary issue specifically has not come up, but the overcapacity or the fact that it has been over the 550 design, I think now for at least 8 years.
Wow, yeah. And the other ones are under-enrolled. And I'm sure they're good schools. And I'm sure there's family that would prefer, you know, some of them over a Montessori school. You know, but we'll see where we get. And this is definitely something. So there's subcommittees that go to those meetings, you know, and I'd love to be part of it. It's really hard to do everything. I'm doing my best. So anyway, thank you so much. It's been just wonderful, and I'm learning so much, and my background in boards and meetings and things has been pretty based in special needs. So it's really nice to see another world out there that I haven't learned a whole lot about, but I'm learning. So I appreciate it.
Sure, and thank you very much for doing it.
All right.
And, you know, please come back in, you know, 6 months' time at the most. And
I'll be back in June, and hopefully we'll have a little positive response on those letters. Maybe they'll get tired of hearing us and seeing us and finally say, fine.
All right.
So, all right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
In addition, Paula Hager from the Cincinnati or Hamilton County Public Library is here to update us on the library expansion. We've heard a lot about the Deer Park expansion, but this is a great opportunity to hear about the public library in general and all the expansions going on. So.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and everyone for giving me a few minutes. I am Paula Bremheger, and I am the library's executive director for the entire library system across the county. Travis Castleberry, who just handed you a little bit of information, background information, he's our branch manager over at the Reading branch, so he may be a familiar face. The Reading branch is one of the branches in your planning zone, and I'll get to that in just a minute. And we have a wonderful library team at all of our branches. What I'd like to do this evening is primarily focus on an update about our facilities master plan. So in 2018, we started a 10-year review of the situation with our facilities and what we needed to improve and the state of our various branches. What you see in your packet is one small sliver. Just for reference, I like to bring, it's a 3-volume document actually. You can read the whole thing on the web page if you would like to. But in the Northeast Planning Zone, that's what you see in front of you, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So we're moving actually into our 5th year of the Facilities Master Plan, and it's designed to bring all of our locations, or as many as we possibly can, into what we're calling the next generation of library service. For a little review, many of our locations are quite old. Several were more than 100 years old, and we had 3 that were not accessible at all. So if you couldn't do steps, you couldn't get into the library. In total, we have 41 public locations, 40 branches, a main library. It's about 1 million square feet of public space. Our Price Hill, our Walnut Hills, and our Madisonville branches were all locations that simply were not accessible, so they were at the top of our list. Our funding is about half through the state and half through local levies. So we have a levy that we started in 2009, that's a 1 mil levy, and in 2018, we came back and asked for another 10-year 1 mil levy, primarily in support of these capital projects, because we knew the average age of a building in our system since it had been renovated or built was 43 years. So they really needed some work. We concentrated, as I said, on the most severe situations, and since I last spoke with you in 2018, we have done quite a bit. So our Price Hill branch, which is an old Carnegie, $7.8 million investment, it's now accessible and expanded. The Walnut Hills branch, which we just opened in October, it was the first of the branches in our system. It's more than 100 years old. I think it's 116 years old. It was renovated and expanded, $12.3 million. And we're about to do some work over in Madisonville. That branch, unfortunately, we were not able to obtain additional land near Madisonville that would allow us to put parking or an elevator or a viable ramp. So we are currently planning to move across the street, so it's practically in the same location, but we still own the Madisonville branch library as well. You mentioned Deer Park. So Deer Park over in the Northeast Planning Zone. Reading is a great branch, and I don't want to take anything away because it's one of our newer branches, but the Deer Park branch is a great example of reuse and community input that really has resulted in tremendous success. That project was about $4.5 million. It opened just about a year ago, and when we had our community meetings in 2018, it was at one of those meetings that folks in Deer Park said, hey, you know, the TJ Maxx down the street is gone. Have you thought about moving down the street? So we have, and it's been tremendously successful. Just for a little bit of context on that, it's now one of our top 3 busiest locations, and I think this past January, it had more visits than any other location except the main library. And your Northeast Planning Zone actually has Sims Township, which is just an engine of use. So more people actually went over to that Deer Park branch and visited that than any of our other locations. So we're really proud of all that we have going on across the library system. In your zone, you do have 9 branches that we consider, and they're listed there. It's about 100,000 square feet of space, and it serves about 160,000 folks. Many of the branches over in the Northeast Planning Zone here are a little bit newer, and again, that's relatively speaking, because when you're talking about things that are more than 40 years old as average, it's not like they're brand new. But you do have the highest amount of library space per resident, and you make great use of it. So I'm sort of here to not only update you, but thank everybody in your communities for how much you obviously appreciate and use your libraries. I mentioned Deer Park and some of the other big projects we've done. We do have some others going on as well that are coming up, including Sims, where we will be there designing some updates and maybe trying to get a little bit of an expansion on that branch. There are months when our Sims Township does more original checkout of material than the main library. That's how busy that location is. So, you know, overall, our library system is quite busy. In 2022, we topped 17 million in circulation. We had 4.3 million digital checkouts. We have more than 400,000 active cardholders. Not all of them are from the Northeast Planning Zone, but I think a lot of them are. And we had 3.1 million customer visits. So I would like to just come out and let everyone know what we're doing with your tax dollars. We ask you for your tax support, and the voters of Hamilton County have been very generous. We appreciate that. I personally believe strongly in letting everybody know what we've been doing. So with the pandemic, last couple of years, we haven't necessarily had the opportunity to come out and talk to people in person. I've been going around to the west side because, in fairness, they haven't had quite as many opportunities for updates to their buildings, and they have a little less library space per resident on that part of the county. But you are my first kind of coming over to the other side of town, so I wanted to make sure you were aware of the success of the nearby locations. Reading does have Sunday hours, so you also have the opportunity to have 7-day-a-week service. That's not too far away from any of the residents in this planning zone. As I noted, Mr. Mayor, I could go on and on. I have lots of information, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. Just wanted to come and thank you and make sure you knew where your dollars were going and answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? Thank you. Just one question.
Yeah.
Pleasant Ridge.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. Pleasant Ridge is scheduled to reopen in the spring. We are updating that one. We have a couple major maintenance projects. Again, that building has been improved more recently than others, but I moved into a house from 1934, and I've learned personally and professionally that buildings don't get any younger, even when you take care of them. They still continue to age. And so we are working on that one, as well as our Coreyville branch and a few others that are requiring additional significant maintenance. And Hyde Park, which I know isn't really in your planning zone, but that's another one that is currently closed. So we have several that are under maintenance or under mild renovation, and Pleasant Ridge will open this spring. I think Hyde Park is scheduled to open this summer, and Coreyville will be opening sometime in that same time frame. So we have a lot going on.
Well, we really appreciate getting the updates from the library, so thank you very much.
Absolutely, and again, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
And you do, thanks for the update. You do not feel that you have to stay. You're welcome to leave.
Appreciate it.
Sure. Okay, this evening we started at I think the beginning of last year, recognizing, was it the beginning of last year or this year that we started recognizing? Last year. Last year. Recognizing employees for their years of service when they come to a milestone. And this evening we have 3 employees that we want to recognize, including one who just recently retired. So I first would like to, is Ryan here? Yep. Okay, invite Ryan forward.
Ryan, you can just wait at the podium. I'll give you a little bio here first while the mayor's coming up. Ryan started working with Amberley Village part-time, cutting grass, pulling weeds, and helping on the tar crew, as well as picking up leaves. Ryan actually took a full-time position with Amberley Village 25 years ago on February 13, 1998. In 2007, Ryan became a certified firefighter with Amberley Village, and he was promoted to maintenance foreman in November of 2014. Ryan has done every job in the maintenance department, and his skill set is far-reaching. Ryan is extremely reliable when it comes to snow in the middle of the night. Ryan is the employee who shows up and engages all the other maintenance workers in snow and ice control. Village weather events have preempted many of Ryan's Thanksgivings, Christmases, playoff games, Super Bowl Sundays, and Ryan always has the dutiful ability to respond. Ryan is quite proud of his reputation of Amberley Village and enjoys a well-maintained village, as well as keeping our residents safe. Ryan is the son of retired police chief Jack Monahan and the brother of Amberley police officer Mark Monahan. Ryan has been married to his wife Allison for 20 years. They have 4 children, with one of them here in the audience with him today. In his younger years, Ryan was in a band with his classmates at Moeller High School. The name of the band was Young Fellow. Ryan was the band's only and best drummer. He must have wrote this. I see you, Ryan.
I did not write that.
For 10 plus years, the band was together. Young Fellow opened for Kid Rock, played on WBN Fireworks, Jammin' on the Main, and several other venues throughout Cincinnati. During his off time, Ryan enjoys coaching his children in different sports, mentoring other children and adults, and learning to play the drums. You know, on a personal note, you know, Ryan actually does go over and above. You're talking about leading by example. You know, recently we've had some break-ins and things like that, and Ryan's always the first one to answer his call, come in, board up the houses, and he never says anything bad about it, but he's definitely leads by example, and he's a true leader in the community, and he's highly respected. Ryan, we recognize you and congratulate you for your 25 years of service with Amberley Village. Thanks.
Thank you.
I know I've commented on numerous times how lucky we are as residents to have employees like Ryan, you know, the long service and everything the chief said. You know, I think every resident can say the same thing. We benefit, you know, the roads are in real shape after snow events and things like that, and because of people like Ryan. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next on the list will be Sergeant Mike Koenig. Sergeant Mike Koenig began his career in law enforcement in 1994 with a position in Butler County Sheriff's Office. In February 1998, Mike accepted a position with Amberley Village. He has spent most of his career on second shift from 3 to 11, which gave him the opportunity to quickly gain a lot of experience. He has served as an FTO, field training officer, and investigator within the village. Mike has served as a valuable member of the Hamilton County SWAT team for 8 years, and he was also able to bring those skills back to Amberley, work with other members of the department on officer safety as well as building searches. He is also an active shooter instructor and has trained thousands of people. Originally we had hundreds on there, and Mike and I talked today, and then, it's gone by so fast. We're in the 1,000 people that he's trained on active shooter to keep the safe Cincinnati community safe, and we truly appreciate that. Mike has also served as member of the Hamilton County Honor Guard for 14 years. In this time, he represented himself, Amberley Village Police Department, at several funerals of fallen officer. Each year, on his own, Mike attends the police memorial event downtown in May to show his respected fallen officers. In 2013, Mike was promoted to the rank of sergeant. And in 2022, Mike attended PELC, which is Police Executive Leadership College, and he was a graduate of the 81st class. Mike has been married to his wife, Chris, for over 5 years. She has been a police officer at the city of Cincinnati for nearly 24 years. They have 3 children, 7 grandchildren, and 1 more on the way. And they have some of them here, but they're hiding in the back here. We appreciate them coming. Just on a personal note with Mike is, a lot of things, it's a quiet community here, and a lot of things go on, but a lot of things get, we don't see. And I'll give you an example of one thing that Mike was dealt with over the past couple of weeks is he got dispatched, him and Andrea, on a non-breather, and they get there, and, our law enforcement responding first as first responders makes all the difference in the world. Because of Mike's quick actions and Andrea's actions, they were able to get the guy down on the floor, get him laying supine, get him his airway open, and maintain an open airway until the squad could get there. Prior to Mike and them there, because the way his position and everything, he wasn't breathing. So, that's Mike. He goes over and above, and he does a great job, and, he doesn't need to be rewarded for what he does, and it's truly, appreciative. Mike, we want to congratulate you on 25 years of service with Amberley Village and 27 years in the career. Congrats.
We'll keep that one to ourselves.
Ready? Okay, last but not least, retirement. Wes, come on up. Westbound, in January 27, 2023, Wes celebrated his 31st year with Amberley Village and his retirement from Amberley Village. He started with the village as a laborer in 1992. Wes obtained his commercial driver's license and treated many miles and miles of Amberley streets during snow and ice. Wes is also a firefighter, so imagine 13 years of working in extreme conditions, rain, snow, ice, wind, heat, still have time to get married to his wife Lori, have 2 children, Cody and Natalie. Wes's kids have grown now, and Wes has recently became a grandpa to Sonny. Wes was promoted to maintenance supervisor in 2005, was able to spend a little less time outdoors. In 2014, Wes became the zoning and project administrator and moved into the administration side of the building. We just call those people. We handle a lot of calls. He handles a lot of calls throughout the village, inquiring about setbacks, zoning variances, construction plans, building maintenance, tennis courts, stormwater, and the list goes on. Wes says his favorite quote is "Work smarter, not harder. If you can't do that, just retire." So obviously Wes is there. Wes once grew tobacco and chickens in Tennessee. He graduated from Reading High School and now is raising chickens and taking care of his dog and cat in Claremont County. Wes is being recognized tonight for 31 years of service. He is receiving the Amberley Village plaque commemorating, I'm struggling here, with his years of service, not only with Amberley Village, but he'll receive his helmet for his years of service on the fire department. With Wes, you don't realize, and Wes has only been gone a short time, but you don't realize what somebody truly does around here. It's kind of a running joke this past few days, and the flag, one of the flags was missing. That was Wes's job. We call Wes. The boiler went out. We asked for Wes. We had a roof leak. We called for Wes. It was kind of like if your office was cold, you call for Wes. No matter what it was, you're always the go-to, and already, you're being missed. We got a lot big shoes to fill. So Wes, congratulations, and we hope you enjoy your retirement. As the mayor would say, you guys don't have to stay. Run now. Thank you, guys.
If you want pictures with your families, Tony can do that tomorrow.
Next item on our agenda is the swearing in of our new Planning Commission board member, and so we will now have the swearing in. And You gonna get Tony? The new planning commission member is, or board member is Nemet Jawarzami. Nemet is, to me, a model citizen of Amberley Village in that she has constantly put her hand up and been willing to help out the village in just about anything. Nemet also attends many of our council meetings. Nemet, an example of, Nemet putting her hand up and serving the village. She was one of the original members of the Stormwater Advisory Board, and the Stormwater Advisory Board, I think, has been in existence 15 or 16 years, and she has served on that board the entire time. And when we were looking for new members for the Planning Commission, Nemet put her hand up again. So we really appreciate this type of, citizen. She has helped out the village administration. She's helped out the village police. She's just constantly looking for things to help us out. So we really appreciate that. So I will come down and do the swearing in. Usually you're next. Why don't you come over here and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Nemet Jawarzami, as a member of the Planning Commission, Board of Zoning Appeals of Amberley Village, Ohio.
I, Nemet Jawarzami, as a member of
The
Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals of Amberley Village, Ohio,
do solemnly affirm that I shall follow and uphold the Constitution
and uphold the Constitution
and laws of the United States of America,
and laws of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Ohio,
Constitution and laws of the State of Ohio,
and the Charter and ordinances
and the Charter and ordinances
of Amberley Village,
of Amberley Village, Ohio,
and shall faithfully perform my duties
and shall faithfully perform my duties
as prescribed by the Charter
as prescribed by the Charter
and ordinances of Amberley Village
and the ordinances of Amberley Village
and the laws of the State
and
of
the
Ohio.
law of State of Ohio.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, we'll now move on to committee reports, and first, the Public Buildings and Parks Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. We had a meeting this past month where we met with the volunteers who coordinate the baseball fields on in the municipal park. And since I know nothing about sports, I actually learned quite a bit about baseball. But this is a continuing topic, and we still have different elements that are moving forward as we're exploring scheduling the fields. So that's what happened in our latest meeting. And then I have the third and final reading of Ordinance 2022-9, which authorizes changes to Section 98.05 of the Village Code regarding rules and regulations for the village-owned tennis courts. As this is the third reading, hopefully many of you are familiar with this topic. But essentially, when we had the municipal park courts recapped, I forget the word.
Strike.
No, but they also did the resurfaced. There we go. COVID has caused me to forget words. So when we had the tennis courts resurfaced, we also had 2 of the 4 courts lined for tennis, but also in addition for pickleball. By no means are they regulation pickleball courts. but they do have the lining needed for the game. Pickleball, as many of you know, is becoming much more popular, and as such, it's created some need for changes to the code to reflect this use. So primarily, the biggest change is instead of referring to the courts as tennis courts, moving forward, we're going to refer to them as courts and acknowledge that that means both tennis and pickleball. So that's the biggest change. We're going to need to update some signs. The old sign down there, frankly, is so weathered as to be almost, it's not super helpful as it is anyway, so it's a good time to place the sign. But yes, people will be able to use the courts for pickleball, and there are the different elements that make this change very helpful. So, as such, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2022-9, authorizing changes to 98.05 regarding rules and regulations for the village-owned courts.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we adopt ordinance 2022-9, amending the rules with respect to the village-owned court. Are there any questions? If not, it has been moved and seconded that we adopt ordinance 2022-9. Please call the roll.
Ben Hunt.
Aye.
Tom Muthing.
Yes?
Keely Paul.
Yes.
Bob Rosen.
Yes.
Dara Wood.
Yes.
Okay, that ordinance passes and will go into effect 45 days from now.
Thank you, Mayor.
That concludes your report.
That concludes my report.
Okay, we'll now move on to the Police and Fire Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Police and Fire Committee met last week to discuss a number of items. First among those was regarding the continual plans from the Police and Fire departments regarding equipping our police and fire with the best equipment possible. The committee, I think, overall found that Chief and team are doing a great job at kind of working through all of those necessary procedures and plans, and I'm sure that the chief may have more to share in his report later. We also tonight wanted to bring forth a resolution regarding some updates to the firing range, and this was the one that I first brought to the full council at our last meeting. This resolution would put us into a contract with a company called Inveris. Basically, the firing range that is located here in the municipal building has been in service for about 22 years and has never had a full strip down cleaning and is in dire need of being cleaned and replaced. So this company will be able to kind of in one foul swoop be able to not only clean and make sure that the firing range is once again safe for all of our police training, but also will also update the equipment that is used, allowing for a wider variety of trainings to be able to take place there, while also adding some sound mitigation to the room, because anyone that's been in the municipal building knows when the firing range is in use, you know that it's in use. So all three of these are going to be great improvements for the police training in that space. Most notably, it was budgeted for this year, so this is all at this point just kind of moving the process forward. So I would like to make a motion to recommend to council to adopt resolution 2023-3, authorizing a contract to purchase and install firing range backstop with EPA certified cleaning.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution 2022-3, authorizing the contract to purchase and install the new firing range. Are there any questions? If not, it has been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution 2023-3. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Be it noted that that resolution passes unanimously.
Great. The other item on the agenda tonight is regarding an ordinance to create the position for a heroin task force officer. Again, give some kudos to the chief for his continued leadership in not only Amberley Village, but also in the wider community here in Hamilton County, in his positions with keeping us connected and in the middle of great policing that is occurring across the county. So as part of that, we've been involved with the Heroin Task Force for a number of years. We have an ordinance before you tonight, Ordinance 2023-1, to be able to create a new position for a Hamilton County Heroin Task Force officer. This officer actually has already been sworn in as an auxiliary officer here in the village, and now we're looking to officially add him as a member of the Heroin Task Force. So I'd like to make a motion to adopt Ordinance 2023-1.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded that we adopt ordinance 2023-1, creating this position for the heroin task force officer, who will be the eventual replacement for Lieutenant Tom Fallon when Tom finishes, and all the cost is covered by a grant that the chief has secured, so that it's a grant that will provide for the salary of this officer for 2 years. Are there any questions or comments? If not, it has been moved and seconded that we adopt ordinance 2023-1. Please call the roll.
Ben Hunt,
Yes.
Tom Muthing,
Yes.
Keely Paul,
Yes.
Bob Rosen,
Yes.
Dara Wood.
Yes.
And that concludes your report.
And that concludes my report.
Okay, we'll now move on to the Finance Committee, as Chair of the Finance Committee. Before you this evening is Ordinance 2023-2, which amends our appropriations. First of all, we are putting in place the ordinance or the appropriation related to that grant to provide for the payment for that officer. This will be for the first year of the grant, and so we're requesting that there, for a sum of $125,000, be appropriated to account 2152, which is the American Rescue Plan Fund, that's where these funds are coming from the county to cover this officer. And secondly, we need to increase the appropriations for the Kenwood Jeds Escrow Custodial Fund. This particular fund is used to pay for tax refunds when they're requested from people from Sycamore Township. That's where we're in the Jeds with Sycamore Township. We had originally appropriated $25,000, but we recently got a request for a refund of $13,000. We had just under $25,000 of refunds in 2022, and so by increasing this now, we will have a total appropriation of $38,000, which should be enough to cover the refunds that are expected. So I move that we adopt ordinance 2023-2.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt ordinance 2023-2, amending certain appropriations for the fiscal year 2023. Are there any questions? If not, it has been moved and seconded that we adopt ordinance 2023-2. Please call the roll.
Ben Hunt,
Yes.
Tom Muthing,
Yes.
Keely Paul,
Yes.
Bob Rosen,
Yes.
Dara Wood.
Yes.
Okay, and that concludes my report. We will now move on to the manager's report, and in the manager's absence, the chief will present the manager's report.
Yeah, there was just a couple items I wanted to point out on the manager's report. The first was as Councilman Hunt brought up on the heroin task force, were able to get a grant for $263,106 to be able to pay for that position for the next 2 years where there's no expense to the village. But also, again, this year on the Assistance of Firefighters Grant, the AFG grant, we were actually awarded another $45,350, which will go toward replacement of some fans, fire hose, and some other equipment. The last thing was on the manager's report is on the Ohio Collaborative. As most of you know, that the state of Ohio started the Ohio Collaborative in 2015. They created minimum standards that they want law enforcement agencies to follow. The first 2 standards that were developed in the collaborative in 2015 was to improve relationships between citizens and law enforcement. The additional standards that they come up with for the community engagement, bias-free policing, body-worn cameras, vehicle pursuits, telecommunications, employee misconduct, mass protests, agency wellness, and interaction with minors. We're happy to report that at this time, we are 100% in compliance and certified on every level of the Ohio Collaborative. That's the end of the manager's report.
Okay, we'll now move on to the chief's report. You got anything?
Okay, I don't really have a lot on my report. Two serious things to talk about. The most important thing is recently in Roman Estates, we had an attempt burglary at the end of December, right near the end of the year. And the suspect did not get in the residence. They broke an exterior window, got into a mudroom area, and the resident did have their alarm activated, so the person ran. But over this past week, we actually had another attempt break-in on Beach Hollow in Romans, as well as another actual burglary that occurred in Romans with an hour in time frame where they actually got into the residence. So what I want to stress, the residents continue to set your alarms if you have them. Again, a lot of times we have alarms on the house and we're not setting them. Set your alarms. Let your neighbors know when you're out of town. Let them keep an eye out for you. You know, this is going to take work to get, a resolution to make an arrest on this. But if we do our part, it'll make things better. We, within the police department, we're increasing patrols in all the different areas of the neighborhoods, working on a lot of different leads. But one thing we're going to do is beginning next month, we're going to change for people that have the AVA alarm system that comes through the police department. We're going to actually change that a little bit, and I'm going to add Total Connect to that, which we haven't had that. So a lot of times people are going out of town and forgetting to set their alarms. So we're going to activate the Total Connect aspect of it. We knew we could build upon this at some time, and we're ready to do that. So what that would do is it would cost a resident an additional $5 a month. But if they go on vacation, they can check from their cell phone if their alarm's set. They can turn the alarm on and off from any place in the country to make things a little bit easier. If you have workers coming to your house, a lot of times people just leave the alarm off because the workers are coming. This way you can turn them on and off, and hopefully this will make things better. But again, if you see something, say something. Don't hesitate to call us. If it's a suspicious car and it turns out to be a neighbor, we're okay with that. One of these attempts, there was an hour delay before we were notified, even though the resident was home. It's very important to call us instantly. We'll be there, and that'll help us a lot in, solving these crimes. Any questions?
I have a question. With this Total Connect, if we're currently going through Amberley, will there be things that some of us with older systems will have to do to update our systems, or?
Yeah, so right now there's two different systems that come through the Amberley Village, and the first system was JV, which Jim Van Orsdale's system, which is a radio wave system. That is not capable of Total Connect. Right now on our new system that we started, we probably got about 120 new accounts on this new system. We call it AVA, Amberley Village Alarm, but this is able to go with Total Connect. Some people that actually have other types of systems, they can contact their providers as well and see if you can get Total Connect through those. Thank you for bringing that up.
Any other questions?
I have a question. Just last night, my next door neighbor essentially had someone, they dinged on a ditch on them, which is highly unusual. has there been any reports of that? Do we think now I'm suddenly suspicious?
Well, I think because of your neighbor where they live, chances are it's somebody new to the neighborhood because it's not the first one on that street. So there's been a couple other ones and we got them on Ring camera. It's just a matter of identifying them. And when it first came in, we thought they were trying to get in, and when you watch the video, it's obviously just a couple young teenage kids that were doing it.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Anything else? Thanks, Chief. Now move on to the mayor's report. And first, on the Human Rights Commission, Evelyn Jones, who was a council appointment. Remind you again, under the Human Rights Commission, there are 3 members that are council appointments. One is a mayor's appointment and one is a village manager appointment. Evelyn Jones is a council appointment. Her term expired, but she is willing to continue to serve. So I hereby would like to make a motion to reappoint Evelyn Jones to a 3-year term to the Human Rights Commission.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we as council appoint Evelyn Jones to the Human Rights Commission to a 3-year term, which would expire at the end of 2025. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Be it noted that that resolution passes unanimously. And next, the Environmental Stewardship Committee's next meeting will be February 27th at 7 o'clock in the community room. And that's all I have. Any questions for the mayor? Any new business? If not, this evening, and we're a little bit behind on this. Normally we do the village manager appraisal in the December and January timeframe, but we're going to start that process this evening. We ran a little bit behind because the village manager's absence due to his injury, but we're going to start that process this evening. So I would hereby make a motion that we adjourn into executive session for the purpose of discussing a personnel matter, and this is consistent with Ohio Revised Code Section 121-22.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. We adjourn into executive session. Please call the roll.
Ben Hunt,
Yes.
Tom Muthing,
Yes.
Keely Paul,
Yes.
Bob Rosen,
Yes.
Dara Wood.
Yes.
Okay, so we're adjourning into executive session at 7:27. We will return to here and to adjourn general session, but there will be no action taken this evening. This will be our first discussion of the village manager's appraisal, consistent with our process in the past. We'll finish that next month. That appraisal then is available to residents, and we will also next month discuss the village manager's pay for his contract. But when we come back in, we basically will adjourn. So for those in attendance, don't feel compelled to sit here for the period. So, but thank you for attending.